Hello, in this next video I'll be walking you through CSS fonts. So in the previous video I mentioned that at one point, well there still is, a HTML tag called font, and I really didn't emphasize it because I said that in CSS there's better ways to handle it. So let's go ahead and get started. So as I said before, you see divs used a lot, so let's go ahead and create a div, and I'll go through all the different font options. It's a very common thing to want to have different fonts and play with the fonts. So let's start with font style. So you can see our different choices here. I'll go ahead and select italic. And we can see in our design view on the right here that we have an italic font. And I should mention this, I guess I did a little hand waving and kind of glossed over this. The style, when you put it inside the tag, is only applied for the length of that tag. So if we create a second div, we can see that one it's not in italics. So just something to keep in mind, it's when you put in a CSS style within a tag like this, it's only valid for the length of that tag. So you have your opening tag, closing tag, and then that style is no longer applied. Okay, so there's font style. One that we went over with before was font weight, so we'll go through that one again here. And you can notice so when we do an HTML attribute, you use the equal sign. When you're doing CSS, you use the colon. It's something to notice and get used to. You'll after a while get used to it, but don't get confused and try to do font style equals, because that's not going to work. So let's do font weight, and then we'll choose bold. And we'll say this is a bold font. And so say you wanted to do multiple styles within one tag, like we did in one of the earlier videos where we combined bold and italics. You separate them by a semicolon. So say we have font weight is bold, and then we wanted to go back to font style. And I guess I should also mention, as you're typing, a lot of times Dreamweaver will give you a drop down of all the things. I mean, these are all the possible CSS properties, and you can see there's a lot. There must be at least 100 here. So font style, we'll say italic. So you can see it applied both. So that's the separator there, is the Maybe I should pull this over so it's a little more clear. You can see we have font weight is bold, we have a separator, and we have font style is italic, and you can chain together as many of those as you want. So another CSS CSS property, and this isn't specific to fonts. This actually applies to a lot of things. It's just color, and we'll just do red. And again, we can combine that with so this is a bold and red font. One more in the category of fonts is the font family, and this is say you're working in Word. This is you'll be used to this. Is what you get in the font drop down a lot of times. So say we wanted to set our font family to actually. Let me go back here. I went over that a little too quickly. We have a whole drop down of available fonts, and there's ways to get more fonts. We'll go into that maybe a little bit later. If anybody wants to search for it now, Google has a whole set of fonts that you can download, and you can look through those, and it'll have statistics on how quickly that font will render, and you get to see a preview of it, and so a lot of good information. But don't worry about it too much for now. These are the default fonts included in most browsers right here. So say we just wanted that, and then you can see our fonts changed. So that's the font family. So the font ones are pretty straightforward. It's just as you'd see in, say, a word processing program like Word or something like that. Okay, so now I'm going to go into another font property and at the same time talk about another little topic here. So let's go to font size. Now there's 3 different ways of doing sizing in general. This isn't even specific to CSS, this is HTML. So we have, you can see it's suggesting we have px. What is px? Px is pixels, and those are the actual pixels on your screen. I won't go into it too much because it can easily get into a big topic, but just know that one of the ways to select the size is through pixels. So let's make it big. Let's do 24 pixels, and you can see let's just go and say generically this is a sentence. Okay, so we have 24 pixels. If we wanted to change that to even bigger, we could say 36 pixels, and then we can say it gets bigger. So another way is by percentages. So if we set it to 100%, 100% is the default size. So when you're doing pixels, you're saying I want to do this number of pixels. Every tag and every situation is going to have a default font size, as if you had put nothing, and that's 100%. A lot of times, people will use these percentages to say, I don't care how big of that text is right now, I just wanted to make it a little bigger. So say we wanted to do 125%, and then you can see it gets a little bit bigger. So that's how percentages work. And then similarly, there's font size with EM, and this is again similar. So we have 1, EM, that's our base size. So 3 different ways. They're used differently in different situations. I don't want to overload you guys too much. Just know that there's 3. You'll see them. For now, during your assignments, you can pick your favorite way and use that. Generally, you use pixels if you want it to be the same size in all screens, in all situations. You want to use percentages if you and EM if you just want to give it a hint as you're saying, I don't know how big it is, but I just want to make it a little bit bigger. I want to make it 20% bigger than they're currently viewing it. So I'm going to go ahead and stop there. I hope this wasn't too much in one video. So just to kind of review, there's on the presentation side, so we had our structure and we had our presentation. I started to go into fonts, which are a common thing, and go through the different CSS properties for fonts. You can go to a site called w3schools.com and they have a lot of resources there. You can actually just Google it, and they tend to be the first site that comes up. If you look up CSS fonts, and you can see all of them that are available. And maybe I'll post a link to that. But I want you guys to get kind of used to being able to find these sites yourself, because that's going to be a really common thing. And over the years, these sites will change. New ones become popular, and the old ones may not be used so much anymore. So post any questions you have in the comment section, and I'll see you in the next video.